Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Joy Anna Duggar broke courtship rules after Austin Forsyth had a terrible accident. Joy Anna Duggar was open about her struggles and life growing up as the daughter of Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar. She and her husband, Austin Forsyth, were guests on the Unplanned podcast where they discussed all things Duggar. Austin also discussed run-ins with fans and other things that happened to the couple because they were in the spotlight. He'd even talked about the crazies that would send pizza to their house. Of course, misconceptions were also addressed. Throughout the couple's podcast appearances, they did their best to honor Jim Bob and Michelle. And it wouldn't have been complete without Joy and Austin talking about the time they broke courtship rules. Here's why Joy Anna Duggar broke courtship rules. Courtship rules were a big deal when the Duggar daughters and a few sons were getting married. Jill Duggar and Derek Dillard kicked off the nearly back-to-back weddings, with Jessa, Jinger, Joy Anna, Joseph, and Josiah Duggar getting married within a few years. The girls were held to high courtship standards and had chaperones while dating their partners. No hand-holding, touching, kissing, or anything else was allowed. They were occasionally allowed a side hug, but even that was scarce. Joy talked about when she went to see Austin Forsyth after he totaled his truck and could have died. She called her father for permission, and when she was spending time with Austin, one of her brothers told Pops that she was holding onto his arm and was asked to let go. She said she was annoyed at her brother, who likely earned points for telling Jim Bob what his daughter was up to. Austin was a little taken aback by the situation, too. Will Joy Anna Duggar ever walk away from her upbringing? Throughout her entire time on the Unplanned podcast, Joy Anna Duggar was careful not to criticize her parents. She has walked a fine line during her adult life while talking about things and maintaining a relationship with her younger siblings who remained at the big house. Joy watched Jill Duggar's exile after walking away from Counting On and became more alienated. The Counting On star addressed that reading Jinger Duggar's book rocked her world, but she hasn't talked in depth about what she changed or how it affected her thoughts on how she was brought up. It seems nothing has changed, though. In the world of the Duggars, courtship is not just dating. It's a carefully choreographed dance of purity, chaperones, and strict boundaries. With every step, the family adheres to the rules they believe reflect their deep faith, rules that keep them from the perceived temptations of the world. For Joy Anna Duggar, one of the 19 Duggar children who has grown up under the watchful eyes of not just her parents but an entire nation, courtship with Austin Forsyth was no different. Or at least, that was the plan. Their love story had begun as quietly as the rustling of leaves in the wind, a friendship blooming into something more over years spent at church gatherings, family events, and side-by-side service projects. Austin, the son of family friends Terry and Roxanne Forsyth, was someone Joy Anna trusted, admired, and looked up to. He had a strength of character that resonated deeply with her faith, and as they entered their courtship, both felt confident that their path toward marriage was God's plan. But life has a way of testing even the strongest faith, and the Forsyth-Duggar courtship would soon be thrown into a storm none of them saw coming. The accident. It was a crisp fall afternoon, and Austin was on a work site, helping his father with a construction project. The Forsyth men were known for their ability to take on physically demanding work, and Austin was no exception. He had grown up in a family of builders, learning the trade from the ground up. That day, they were building a large barn, a project Austin was excited to be a part of since it represented a future business venture he and his father had dreamed of. As Austin worked high on a scaffold, something went wrong. A simple misstep, a misplaced board, or perhaps a sudden gust of wind. No one could say for certain. What was clear was that the scaffold gave way beneath him, sending Austin plummeting to the ground. When his father and the crew rushed to his side, it was clear that Austin was gravely injured. His leg was shattered, his arm twisted in an unnatural way, and he was unconscious. In the flurry of panic, 911 was called, and Austin was rushed to the nearest hospital. Joy Anna was at home when the phone call came. Her heart raced as her father, Jim Bob, answered the call from Terry Forsyth. She watched as her father's face went pale, his eyes wide with shock. "Austin's been in an accident," Jim Bob said softly, turning to Joy Anna. In that moment, Joy Anna's world seemed to tilt. She felt the weight of fear press against her chest, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Without a second thought, she prayed aloud, asking God to protect Austin, to guide the doctors, and to bring healing. But prayer didn't feel like enough. Breaking the rules. The Duggar courtship rules are clear. No physical contact beyond side hugs, no spending time alone without a chaperone, and emotional boundaries that prevent couples from becoming too intimate before marriage. But in that moment, as Joy-Anna received news of Austin's accident, those rules seemed distant, secondary to the deep well of love and concern she felt for him. Joy-Anna wanted to be by his side, needed to be by his side. As she and her family rushed to the hospital, Joy-Anna's mind swirled with thoughts of Austin. She remembered the way he laughed, the kindness in his eyes, and the way he spoke about their future together. They had promised each other they would follow the rules set by their families, rules they believed would keep their relationship pure. But now, faced with the possibility of losing him, those rules seemed fragile, like glass ready to shatter. When they arrived at the hospital, Joy-Anna was led to the waiting room. Her parents and the Forsyths went to speak with the doctors, leaving Joy-Anna alone with her thoughts. Every minute felt like an eternity. The sterile smell of the hospital, the low murmur of voices in the background, and the steady beep of machines only heightened her anxiety. Finally, after what felt like hours, Terry Forsyth came back with news. Austin had survived the fall, but his injuries were severe. He had undergone surgery to repair his leg and arm, and he would be facing a long, painful recovery. Joy-Anna's heart ached to see him. When her parents stepped aside to speak with the doctors, Joy-Anna saw her opportunity. She slipped into Austin's hospital room, her eyes filling with tears as she saw him lying there, pale and motionless, hooked up to machines. She wasn't supposed to be there. The rules dictated that she shouldn't be alone with him in this vulnerable state. But at that moment, the only thing that mattered was being there for him. She quietly sat by his bedside, reaching out to gently hold his hand. It was the first time they had ever touched like this, the first time they had crossed the boundary between friendship and something deeper. Austin stirred slightly, his eyelids fluttering open as he tried to focus. When he saw Joy-Anna, a weak smile spread across his face. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice raspy from the anesthesia and pain. "I didn't mean to scare you." Tears streamed down Joy-Anna's face as she squeezed his hand a little tighter. "Don't be sorry. Just get better." A new perspective. As Austin began his recovery, Joy-Anna and her families spent countless hours at the hospital. The courtship rules that once seemed so central to their relationship now seemed secondary to the care and love Joy-Anna felt for Austin. The accident had shifted something fundamental between them. It wasn't that their faith had wavered, but rather that they had experienced a deeper understanding of what it meant to truly love someone. For Joy-Anna, breaking the courtship rules wasn't about rebellion. It was about compassion, about showing up when it mattered most. Eventually, Austin was able to return home, but his road to recovery was long and difficult. He had to relearn how to walk, endure physical therapy, and cope with the frustration of being dependent on others for even the simplest tasks. Through it all, Joy-Anna remained by his side. And though their courtship had been tested by Austin's accident, it had also been strengthened. They had faced a trial together and had come out the other side with a deeper bond, one built on trust, faith, and the knowledge that life is fragile, but love, true love, is enduring.